Hi everyone, you're welcome to another English class here at LearnCity. My name is Francis Ikuro and I'm still your English tutor. Today, we'll be looking at the functions of nouns. What functions do nouns perform in a sentence? Now, basically, a noun can function as subject of a verb. It can also function as object of a verb. It can function as subject complement. And it can also function as object complement. And it can function as object of a preposition. And it can also function as apposition to another nominal entity, to another noun. So you have 6, right? Subject of a verb, object of a verb, complement, which could be object complement, subject complement, object of a preposition, and complement, and in apposition to another nominal entity. Now, before we talk about nouns as subject of a verb, what is a subject? A subject is the doer of an action. A subject is the performer of an action. Who does it? Or who did it? Alright? So, who does this, or who does that, or who did this, or who did that, will be regarded as the subject. Or let's say, Ada. Okay, Ade now. Ade enjoys reading. Ade enjoys reading. Now the question you should ask, okay, which will give you the answer, is who enjoys reading? Ade. Then Ade is the subject of the sentence, or is the subject of the verb enjoys. It's simple. I am going to, let me use my name. Francis is going to school. Francis is going to school. Who is going to school? Who is performing the action? Go. Francis. So Francis is the subject. So whenever you are asked to identify the subject in the sentence, there is a question. There's the first question you should ask. Who does this? Who does that? Who performs the action? Who did that? Who performed the action in the past? James traveled to London last week. James traveled to London last week. The question is, who traveled? Who performed that action? James. So James is the subject of the verb, traveled. And that makes sense. Again, we can talk about subject is not only who does this, who does that, or who did this, who did that, or who performs an action, or who performed an action in the past. It can also be the nominal entity that the whole sentence revolves around. Or the thing we're talking about, the nominal entity that we're talking about, the subject of focus. The focus point. Okay, let me talk about this, which could be true, or which is most likely true, which you might know. Ibadan, for instance. Okay, Ibadan is the headquarters of beggars in Southwest. Ibadan is the, and don't say Ibadan, say Ibadan. Okay, so Ibadan is the headquarters, okay? Headquarters with S, because it's always pluralized, is the headquarters of beggars in Southwest. Now, what are we talking about in the sentence? What nominal entity are we talking about? Ibadan. Here, it's not performing any action. Okay, but we have something we're talking about, and that is the subject. The politician is a liar. The politician is a liar. What is the subject there? Politician. Okay? It's not performing any action, but it's that entity, that nominal entity here, that noun we're talking about. So a subject could be who performed an action, or the entity, the nominal entity who performs or performed an action, or the nominal entity that the sentence revolves around, or that we're talking about. Okay, Francis teaches English at LearnCity. Francis teaches English at LearnCity. Who teaches English? Francis. So Francis here is the subject of the verb teaches. That makes sense. Okay, but now when you say the politician is a liar, for instance, you say politician is the subject of the verb is, or the subject of your sentence. Do you understand? Subject of the verb is, or the subject of a sentence. So that is first function of a noun, function as subject of a sentence. So you have this in our previous videos. In my previous videos, I talked about how important nouns are. And I can see that it's only your nouns that can function as what? As subject of a sentence or subject of a verb. Or your noun phrases, your noun clauses, we're going to move higher in the ladder. So again, we talk about object. Object of a verb. Now, object is the receiver of an action who receives the action, or that nominal entity that is affected by that particular thing. Okay? Who receives the action. The subject is who does, who performs. The object is who receives the action, or the nominal entity that is affected, that was affected by that particular action. Let's have an example. Let's say I like reading, for instance. Okay, I like reading. I is the subject here. Okay, let's say Francis now. Okay, I'm not using the first person pronoun, singular pronoun. Let me use Francis likes reading. Francis there is the subject. Okay, because he's the one who likes reading. Now, what does Francis like? Reading. So reading here will be what? The object. But reading is a what? Reading is a gerundive noun. We talked about this I talked about this in my previous videos. A gerundive noun. We can say the man. Okay, the man loves his wife, for instance. The man loves his wife. The man there is the subject. Okay, it's a noun. Okay, loves there is the what? Is the verb. Okay. Then his wife, or wife there is the noun, is the object that receives that affection. Now there's something very important. There's something that is going to give you that solid knowledge of how to identify objects. Okay. If you have this example, the man loves his wife. Okay, for instance. Loves there is a verb that is transitive. A verb that is transitive. What we mean by a transitive verb is that it receives, it must take an object. It must take an object. So if there is no object after a transitive verb, then it doesn't make sense. Okay, you just say, Francis eats, or Francis ate. A reasonable person would ask you, what does Francis eat? Or what did Francis eat? A reasonable person would ask you that question. Because eat must attract something. Because love must attract something. Because play must attract something. Play a piano, a guitar, or something. Okay? These transitive verbs, when you have them, when a verb exists, and if something does not follow it, if it doesn't take an object, okay, then it doesn't make sense. So transitive verbs select objects to make sense. So whenever you have a transitive verb in a sentence, it means that there is going to be an object there. There's going to be an object. That is clear. Now we talk about the third function, which is complement. Complement. Now, complement is a word that describes, a word that tells us who something is, or who a person is, or what a person does, or how a person is. A complement is a word that tells us who a person is, or what a thing is, or how a thing is, or how a person is. A word that describes, or a word that completes the meaning in a sentence. Now look at this example. The politician is a liar. I don't say liar, because it's not yeah, it's liar. Okay. The politician is a liar. Now the question is, what word do you use, or have I just used, to describe the politician? Liar. Now liar there is a complement, because that is a word that I used to describe the politician. And now, when I say a liar now becomes a noun, right? Or a noun phrase now. Okay, we're not going to go into that complication. But liar there is that noun that I used to describe. Is that label that I give. So that label, that description, that name that describes something or a nominal entity is what we call a complement. Or complements. The politician is a liar. So you have liar that describes who the politician is. And so liar is a complement. Now what kind of complement? Complement of the subject. That's how you have this. That's where we have the third function of a noun. Complement of the subject. So here you have liar as subject complement. You want to write it in the exam, or you have complement of the subject, the politician. Now, that means you can also have complement describing an object. Complement describing an object, or complement telling us who an object is. For instance, you have Ada. And I love to give this example. Ada, who is an unfortunate woman, or fortunate, depending on how it is, okay, or unfortunate in this case. Okay, Ada calls, or every day, Ada calls her husband a cheat. Ada calls her husband a cheat. Now there's something you're going to notice here. Ada is the subject. Cause is the verb. Cause is a transitive verb. That means a verb that must select an object. Ada calls. Calls who? Her husband. Now a cheat describes what? Describes who? It's a description, is a label that Ada has given to her husband. So a cheat will become a complement. But in this case, what kind of complement? An object complement. An object complement. So you can analyze the sentence and say, Ada here is the subject of the verb, cause. Cause is the verb, right? Her husband there is the object, right? Because the receiver of that particular action, because her husband is that nominal entity that is affected by that name. And a cheat is that word that describes who her husband is. So, and her husband is the object. So we have object complement. Now you can have another example. The board appointed James, the manager. The board appointed James, the manager. Now let's break it down. The board is the subject. Okay? Appointed here is the verb, and it's a transitive verb because it has to take an object. Something has to follow it. And James here is the object, the receiver of that particular action, the one affected, whether positively or negatively, by that particular action. And the manager here is that title that now describes who? James. So that will be the object complement. Simple. Now another function is object of a preposition. Object of a preposition or complement of a preposition. It's a word that completes that preposition. Let's say I am in, and I have to stop. Every sane human being would be wondering, where am I? Right? So we say, I'm in a room. Now you have in here, there as a preposition. Right? In there as a preposition, but the use of in there is not complete without a noun. So that's why you have, I am in a room. So a room there now becomes the complement of what? Of that preposition, in. Let's have another example. I am proud of, let's say, Cynthia now. I am proud of Cynthia. When you just say, I am proud of, and you stop, the meaning of that of as a preposition is not complete without Cynthia. Right? So Cynthia there is the complement, and here is the complement of the what? Of the preposition. It's the word that completes the meaning of that preposition. You can give other examples. You can say, I'm traveling to, okay, stop there. Traveling to, everybody will be looking at you. Traveling to where? Because the word, the use of to there is not complete without the word, without the preposition, without the noun as a complement. Complement of a preposition. I am traveling to London. I am traveling to Togo. He lives at, or he lives in. Kind of wonder, where does this person live? Because the at there or the in there is not complete without a noun, which is functioning as a word, as complement of that preposition. You can give your own example. That is how it's used. Now we have the last one, which is in apposition to another nominal entity. Now this is it. What is an apposition? An apposition is a word that gives additional meaning, or is a word that functions as this complementary equivalent. It complements that particular noun. It gives an added meaning to it. And both of them perform the same syntactic function. I'm going to give an example. Let's say you have President Muhammadu Buhari, or let's say Muhammadu Buhari as a word. That is a noun, comma. The President of Nigeria, comma, is here. Is here. No, he's not. He's not here. is here. Now here you have Muhammadu Buhari as the subject, and Muhammadu Buhari is still the president of Nigeria. Now underline president. If you underline president, president now becomes what? Now a noun in apposition to who? To Muhammadu Buhari, because they are the same. It's the same person. It's the same man that you're talking about here. So Muhammadu Buhari, the president of Muhammadu Buhari, comma, the president of Nigeria, comma, is here. So the president of Nigeria, which is a noun, okay, or a noun phrase now in this case, all right, but let's look at the president alone, or Muhammadu Buhari, the president, is here. So the president there is functioning as a noun in apposition to another nominal entity, Muhammadu Buhari. We can also have an example. I am going to visit Clement. I am going to visit Clement, my physics teacher. I am going to visit Clement, my physics teacher. Clement is still your what? Your physics teacher. And your physics teacher is still what? Is still Clement. What do we have now? We have nouns in apposition. If any of them is underlined, that will be noun in apposition to another nominal entity. So if Clement is underlined now, Clement will be a noun in apposition to another nominal entity. My physics teacher. Or my physics teacher is underlined, will be another nominal entity, will be an apposition to another nominal entity. What is important in nouns in apposition is the fact that there has to be a clear comma used after the word, the first noun, and at the end of the second noun. Muhammadu Buhari, comma, the president of Nigeria, comma, is here. I'm going to visit Clement, comma, my physics teacher, full stop. But that is different. But when it has to be, now you discover something here, Muhammadu Buhari is still the subject. The president of Nigeria is still the subject, the same function, syntactic function. I'm going to visit Clement. I'm going to visit who? Anyone that I'm going to visit will be the what? The object, because visit is a transitive verb. Clement as the object. Remove Clement and we have my physics teacher. My physics teacher is still the what? Is still the object. The same thing, the same arrangement. You could have my hobby, comma, reading is good. Okay, my hobby is still what? Reading. So reading is a what? Is a noun in apposition to my hobby. And reading is a gerundive noun. You can check the previous videos. So we've been able to discuss the 6 functions of nouns, to give examples for them. Examples that clearly explain them. So it's, I'm sure now that you've understood them, the functions. You can give an examples in the comment section. I'm going to go through them and give you a thumbs up. Thank you for watching this video again. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you.